And we're rolling. Hello, all. Welcome to Nap Chatter episode 4. This episode will be called AM Gains, and I will discuss that later. I am your guy, Corey Knapp, and today we are joined by another longtime friend of mine, um, someone I met back in middle school. Probably weren't really friends until high school. Became really good friends, and I think we became even better friends since then. Guy I talk a lot of sports with, Mr. Andrew Myszak. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Yes, sir. Couple things on my end to get us started here. Some new music of the week. It's a little older. Well, I say a little older, probably a month or so. But if you haven't heard Chris Stapleton's new album, Starting Over, it's a must listen. A couple of my favorites are Joy of My Life and You Should Probably Leave. And then Lee Bryce has a new song called Soul that is also very, very good. Um, Sports betting. I know I talked about it a couple episodes. It is live now in Michigan. If you have any interest in that, like I had said before, I recommend FanDuel. Um, I got a couple of my buddies starting it up and having a lot of fun with it. So it is live in Michigan. We are going to talk a little sports today. We're going to start with football and make our way into some college sports. But let's get it going. Football recap from our championship games, NFC, AFC championship games. The Chiefs beat the Bills 38-24, and the Bucks upset my Packers 31-26. Um, Chiefs looked really good. They looked like the team that won the Super Bowl last year, no doubt about it. Down 9-0, no worries. They really turned it on like they know they can do, and really beat down the Bills. Any thoughts on that game from you?
Field goals kill you. I mean, not that the Bills kicked all field goals, but it seemed when they got down there, then they were happy with the field goal. They
Yeah,
were willing to settle for a field goal.
yeah,
And the fact that you don't got a run game. If you play Kansas City, you can't run the ball. You're toast.
yeah,
Adios.
yeah. I mean, eventually that was going to catch up to the Bills. You can only win so many without running the football, and yeah, kicking the field goals. I mean, and they were long field goals too. Like it wasn't so.
With a rookie kicker, man. They're just happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, going against the Chiefs in KC, like you gotta score touchdowns. So yeah, I mean they looked great. Mahomes obviously questionable early in the week. He played. He looked great to me. I didn't see any rust out of him or any injury or anything like that.
Yeah, saw some kind of report said he had something about turf toe, and I mean, my man was moving no problem. So
Yeah, I figured they gave him a shot of something, and he was ready to rock. But and Travis Kelsey, man, they couldn't guard him. They couldn't even touch him.
you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they were last in the league in defending the tight end. So
Yeah.
that wasn't going to be their strong suit.
Yeah, and then when you're playing against the league's best, I mean, it showed. It showed big time. Um, and I will admit right here and now, Corey Knapp was wrong. The Packers got their butts whooped. I will admit it. I went out and said last week they were going to win by 10. Um, and they easily could have. I heard a guy on ESPN say, "Did the Bucks win or did the Packers lose this game?" And that kind of clicked to me. I mean, so many mistakes. They turned the ball over twice, and the Bucks capitalized with 14 points from it. The Bucks turn it over 3 times. The Packers only get 6 points out of it. The defense, Kevin King. Listen, Kevin King was questionable going in. He should have never played, obviously, because he was terrible. To allow that touchdown, and I put that on the coaching staff because whatever coverage they were in was terrible. 8 seconds to go in the half. He let Scotty Miller get right behind him for an easy touchdown. Packers come out, fumble it. Uh, they punch that one in the very next play. Now it's 28-10. Aaron Jones doesn't come back. They do an excellent job of climbing back into the game. They pick off Brady 3 times as he was just throwing jump balls out there. Um, and then they get it to fourth and goal at the 8. Little over 2 minutes to go, down 8, and they kick the field goal. Oh man, I'm confused. What did you think about that?
Um, I like most of America. I was a little bit. I mean, I don't necessarily think there was wrong. I mean, you're right around 3 minutes to play with the 2 minute warning, and you still got all three timeouts. Your defense just came off a big turnover. The 3 picks you mentioned, I mean, they played either really good or really bad per snap. It wasn't.
But it was one first down. I mean, it's not like they needed Brady to score a touchdown or for one first down and the game's over.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, look, your defense was playing. I mean, it's not like
But
Tampa Bay ran the ball well. I mean, it's not.
here's the problem. You've got the MVP of the league and he needs 8 yards.
Well, what happened in the first 3 plays then? You got the MVP of the league. Where you at?
I know.
Where are you?
I know.
Well,
But I'm not putting the game. I don't agree with the call, but I'm not putting that where the game was set. I mean, that's not where the game was won or lost. I mean, it was.
I agree. And again, I tend to agree with you. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here as far as
it just Devontae second drive when they were not second drive, but when they were down 14-7, they had to settle for a field goal. Rodgers put it right to Devontae back shoulder, and he dropped it. There was just so many missed opportunities. Rodgers was just getting killed. Not having Bakhtiari was, I mean, they had Billy Wagner over there and Turner. They're playing one-on-ones, and the D line for the Bucs is good, and they just whooped them up. I mean, there was so much pressure on Rodgers. Brady was just hanging out back there. The average starting field position, the Bucs started at their own 37. Packers started at their own 23. And you say 14 yards, but I mean, in the NFL, 14 yards is a ton.
8 yards changed the game. So
right. But you start at the 37, you get 2 first downs, you're already in Packer territory. Like it was just, there was so many things, but they're putting it on LaFleur and listen, the guy is 26-6. They've 13-3 both years. Yeah. NFC championship game both years, won the North, first round bye both years. Like he's 2-2 in the playoffs. I get it, but they're not anywhere without LaFleur. He's been a great, great coach for these 2 years. They've changed up the offense and they've been great. I mean, they had enough talent. That's another thing that's driving me nuts is they're saying because they didn't do anything in the draft, they had enough talent to win that game. They had enough talent to beat the Chiefs. Like the Packers have been to 5 NFC title games since 2010. I get that they're 1-4, but only the Patriots have been to more title games since 2010. So,
oh yeah, they've been. I mean, obviously, we've talked about this many times. Most impressive thing about them is their offensive line development and play. Man, they just plug and play, and all of a sudden, this guy's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah,
and you don't even know you don't know the guy's name. You're like, I don't know, he's a Packer. That's how you talk about the line. I don't know, a Packer guy.
Yeah, I just. The media is just out there ripping LaFleur and ripping Rodgers and the GM and everything.
Well, I think some of that's your boy's fault. Saying not necessarily that he threw him under the bus, but in the coach quarterback combination, you kind of want to have everybody on the same page and be supportive.
Well, but they weren't though. I mean, Rodgers said he thought he had 4 downs. I think everyone in the world thought he had 4 downs. Now, I don't know if he said that maybe he would have changed his play on 3rd down because Rodgers ended up calling that play. But I just think
I get you.
It's bad communication from jump because if they're kicking the field goal on 4th down, your offense needs to know that. I mean,
maybe it was destined to something like, hey, if I get it within 4 yards or 5 yards, then we're doing it.
Well, and that's what they're talking about on 3rd down. He should have ran.
Yeah, the fact that you're not putting up any yards, and the guy, in my opinion, the guy called it aggressively. That was an aggressive call. Like, see, people are saying like he played it too safe, but I think it's the opposite. Like you're aggressively saying that my defense is going to get a stop, and we're gonna the next score you win.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you score there, you got to get the 2-point conversion rates. I just looked it up recently. Again, it might be a little bit off, but it's right around 46% in the NFL. So now you're against the statistics there. You don't have your starting running back. Obviously, you mentioned the Bucs defensive line playing great. One of the football nerd battles to watch was Lindsey and Sue.
Yeah,
I had a fun time watching the belly bumping there. That was he was playing a little old school, and obviously Lindsey being the Pro Bowler.
Yeah,
So I mean, we're putting a lot of ifs, ands, or buts, and then all of a sudden
oh,
you're saying,
no doubt, no doubt.
I mean, not we, but the media is saying, one call made the game. Like, well, potentially, but say that defense makes that stop and you win by 3.
Absolutely.
All,
Well, that's
all of a sudden you're a stud.
exactly, and that's the thing. If it works out, and LaFleur said that in his interview. He said, "Well, if it works out, we're not having this conversation, obviously." So, no, credit to the Bucks. They played a good football game. They got the job done. You know, I'm sorry, but Brady was terrible in the second half. That had to have been a career worst. He threw 3 interceptions in a 7-pass span. There's no way he's ever done that before.
Well, the play calling isn't necessarily what he's dealt with before either. I mean, it's
Did you see some of the throws though? It was like he was just lobbing up, and him and Evans were not on the same page at all. And then on their drive, they kicked the field goal to make it 31-23. He overthrew a guy on 3rd down, and Aikman said that was the worst throw he's seen all game. Or no, that was 2nd down. And then on 3rd down, they had set up a screen to Godwin, and he like just spiked the ball in the ground instead of throwing it. I was so confused. I don't know. Congrats to old Tom. He's heading to his 10th Super Bowl, and it's great for him. But I didn't think he played all that well.
no. But even going back to that decision, the last thing I'm going to do is give the best. You can argue all you want, but statistically and winning, I mean, that's the best player that the NFL's seen.
All right.
Probably going to keep the ball out of his hands with 3 minutes to go in the game.
So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
He is the most accomplished quarterback.
Correct.
Is he the greatest quarterback, talent-wise, that you've ever seen?
Oh, talent-wise? Just raw talent? No, of course not.
Okay.
But you can't measure the will to win.
Well, that's just the thing, though. I mean, they say he's the GOAT. I guess it's what do you say is the greatest of all time? He, to me, is he's the most accomplished quarterback of all time. Right. I don't think he's the greatest of all time. I don't know who is, but
well, I'm gonna make this analogy.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it to I know we recently just had a date, so I'm gonna bring it to this comparison. Now, statistically, is like measurables, is Kobe Bryant lesser of an athlete than LeBron James? Because I think so, but again, how do you measure tenacity?
Yeah.
I mean, that dude refused to lose. Like, he was allergic to losing. Well, there's not a lot of dudes out there like that, and I don't think you can measure that. So, I mean, if you don't have that in your greatest of all time, and you're just looking at statistics, shoot, we might have had our best player of all time just retire in high school because he didn't graduate. I mean, that might be the best player ever. You never know.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on how you look at it, because to me, I mean, clearly to me, obviously, Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. Is he the most accomplished of all time? Probably not, because he only played X amount of seasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What he did in those seasons, I mean, he's the greatest of all time. Absolutely. But I mean, you talk about like a guy like Bill Russell, who's got 11 titles as a player and 2 more as a coach.
Two as the coach, as a player.
Yeah, like obviously it was a long time ago, but I'm just saying, as far as like greatest accomplished player and greatest player, to me, are 2 different things. But Tom is he's one of a kind, obviously. So it was a good football game. I'm happy the Packers battled back, because for a second there, I did think it was going to get out of hand. But well, what do you think? Brady going to his 10th, first team ever to be hosting their own, hope in their own stadium there in Tampa versus the Chiefs. Mahomes and the boys looking to win their 2nd in a row. Bucks got any shot?
Yeah, by all accounts. Again, I have one rule. It's mentioned of the sports betting. I don't bet against the best of the best, the most accomplished of all time. How about that?
Yeah.
Well,
and they got a good defense. So
I was just gonna say their defense is stepping up. I mean, they had some secondary injuries last week, which didn't help a ton. I mean, those guys are gonna get an extra rest week.
They'll be good. They already
said. We're talking about 2 weeks rest. I mean,
yeah.
So now we're coming out. I mean, you're not gonna stop Mahomes.
No.
But you got to slow him down, and that's pretty much. I mean, look at what the 49ers did last year. That's pretty much how it went. I think you're still going to see quite the air raid of hopefully better than 70-30 balls that he was throwing at the end of the game last week. But when it boils down to it, you still have two bruising running backs that you can all of a sudden use that have to be fresh. I mean, they played a half a season basically since they split carries.
True.
And Kansas City's defense isn't slouch either. I mean, they were.
I think, and I said it last week. I think they're underrated. I think they just play.
Yeah.
They play when they play those big moments, and the Honey Badger just every week, man. He's making plays every week.
Yeah.
So
somewhere he's there somewhere. Which again, it takes a lot of pressure off you when you know your offense is going to score 30 points, 40 points.
Yeah.
You can go out. You can go in as a play caller and be pretty aggressive. As far as trying to, blitzing early, taking teams out of what they do. So I think that'll be a fun little chess match, with old Tampa Tom.
Yeah. You got. I mean, any way you would pick them to win?
Oh, definitely. There's a shot for sure. I'm not gonna say absolutely. They're gonna blow them out of the water kind of deal, but yeah. I'd go that route. They're getting 3.5.
They're getting. At least last time I looked. They are getting 3.5. Well, I do think it's going to be a good football game. I mean, it's the Super Bowl. Brady's been there 100 times, and he's going to get those guys ready. Brown's going to play. But I just think if the Bucs, their offense has got to be better, I think, than it's been in the playoffs. And obviously their defense is playing great football. But the Chiefs are just too much. I don't think you can pick against them. I will definitely, I got another week. I'll get another episode out next week. I don't think my thoughts will change, but I will take the Chiefs to win this football game. Obviously it's an easy pick. They're the favorites, but
I'll take you up on that for a push-up bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Deal. So you're are we putting this on the record? You're taking Tampa?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm
taking my 3.5 though.
All right. That's fair. Oh, and last week, Payne and I, we did both pick the same teams. So we both ended up 1-1 as we both were on the Chiefs in the pack. For the Super Bowl, I am taking the Chiefs and Andrew is going to take the Bucs. And I like the
plus 3.5.
Plus 3.5. I don't think that's going to matter, man. We'll see.
So I don't know if have they released the extensity of Eric Fisher's injury yet?
Here's the thing. They are he's out. Torn Achilles.
Did they? I saw something about it, but I didn't see the final report.
Yeah. So they're in the Super Bowl. They're going to be playing 4 different linemen than they started last Super Bowl. 4 of the 5 because they had 2 to injury. I think one left, and then one COVIDed out. He's being like a doctor or whatever.
He's a Canadian doctor.
Yeah. So, and cool for him. But yeah, that's the one thing. And you talk about the Bucs D line, like if they're gonna win, I mean that could hurt them. But Mahomes just scrambles and he finds Kelsey and Hill everywhere.
Scotty Miller is the fastest player in the NFL.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's up there, but come on. But these two teams did play in week 6, or a little later than that, but they played, and the Chiefs won 27-24. They hung on to win. The Bucs actually made a nice comeback because the Chiefs were up big early. That was the game Tyreek Hill had over 200 yards in the first quarter, a couple of touchdowns. I mean, he went wild. So I would imagine they're going to be looking to fix that up. But I saw, I didn't know this, Sean Murphy Bunting, CMU alum.
Absolutely. Second rounder.
Yeah, he left early even. I just saw an interview with him.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Very much so.
You got to like
applause and a bunch of Wolverines out there.
Yeah, you got to like that. Andrew is a CMU alum. So, so no Fisher. That's
absolutely. He's a CMU alum.
Number 1 pick.
Antonio Brown.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot. All sorts of numbers. All sorts. The only ones in the league, and they're all in the Super Bowl.
Oh, stop that.
But All right, well, let's move on. Let's stick in the NFL though. Let's talk about, you are a big Ravens fan. Let's get some thoughts
Yes.
on your season. They obviously were a 6-5 team at one point, went on a great run, won their last 5 to go 11-5, got in the playoffs, took down the Titans in round 1, and then obviously fell short in that game versus Buffalo 17-3. What did you think of the season this year?
The roller coaster, that's for sure. Obviously, you start great, then you go through that little skid. Every time you get a primetime game, it's the day to take the day off. So that was a little bit frustrating as a national fan, not a local fan.
Yeah.
Um, there's things to improve. Obviously, I think like the fact that we're at this level right now, and this is kind of what I would expect like our floor to be, like is exciting. But it's what you do now. Like I'm not worried about what we did 3 months ago anymore. Like it's figure it out.
Yeah. Well,
Kind of the youthful development of like Lamar Jackson didn't get helped by the amount of OTAs that got canceled this offseason from the COVID. I know that they all rented houses down there and they worked out and worked on it, and that's just not quite the same.
yeah.
So I'm
So
looking for development there.
do you think it was a successful season though?
No,
No.
they're watching the same game we are.
Well, because of how good they were last year. What was it last year? 14-2? Is that?
Yeah. Last year I think was a bit of a fluke, and
Yeah.
not that they were good, but like the fact that Lamar was so dynamic, and the fact that nobody had a clue what to do, and the fact that they ran the ball so well.
Yeah.
Who would have thought, losing a first ballot Hall of Fame guard is just going to affect the entire run game, but it did.
Yeah.
The fact that they were doing that though, they got to hide a lot of defensive problems. Like going into that Tennessee game, I was a wreck because I knew our run defense was not very good.
Yeah.
And then Derrick Henry probably developed the nickname King there, and so far never turned around. But
No.
we didn't necessarily have that this year. Like there wasn't a lot of on paper weak spots.
Yeah, I thought they were a good football team, and they fell just short in that. That just shows one play can change your whole season, obviously. And I talked about it before, but they're down 10-3, early third, Lamar drives them all the way down the field, 3rd and goal, pick 6, game's over at that point.
Yeah.
I know you like him, right? I mean, you're a fan of Lamar.
Yeah.
I just
definitely.
I worry that he can't throw the ball that well still.
I mean, he was ranked in the top 5 in the pocket 2 years ago. Last year, I guess. This year that regressed, which is where I get a little bit more concerned. I think we got a little bit lax. I know I read reports coming into last year. The media was kind of on Baker Mayfield for doing all the photo shoots instead of getting better. I know Lamar had hired he spent whatever it was, 3 months at a time with 3 different quarterback coaches to try to hone in the craft. Which for me was super admirable. Again, you're out there to prove the haters wrong, and all of a sudden we got the MVP, and it kind of seemed, which I don't know, I don't have any factual to this, just kind of gut feeling, that we kind of took the foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it showed about week 4. By the time other teams were practicing, things were getting the groove, and we were kind of coasting.
Well, I also think they didn't give him a ton of help. I don't know how you feel about the receiving core, but I mean, Hollywood Brown is. I don't know that he's a 1. I mean, you had Willie Snead and Des Bryant were out there playing for you. I mean, this isn't 2015.
Hey, they had some 2015 plays. No, I mean, when you go just straight youthful, you're a Packers fan. When you go straight youthful, everybody's gonna hate. You don't no receiver's good until they're really good.
That's true. That's true.
So I mean, gone are the days where you have a mediocre wide receiver that's decent. Like there's no decent receivers anymore. You're either good or you're terrible.
Yeah, that's true.
With social media and all the videos people are posting and putting out, and if you don't got a workout video out there, you're like, this guy isn't even putting in the time. I mean, my man's eating donuts. So
well, and then Mark Andrews missed a few games there too, right?
Yeah, I think he missed one or two.
Yeah.
He looked lost this year. I don't know if maybe because the practice time they weren't on the same page a lot. He had a few drops here and there. I think something. I think there was a confidence shift where it wasn't necessarily.
Yeah, because he looked unstoppable there last year, and especially at the end of the year. I mean,
And he had 4 or 5 games where you're like, wow, that was. You look up, and it's halfway through the second quarter. My man's got 6 catches and 100 yards. You're like, what? Where was this?
yeah, no, he was very impressive last year, and I think he fell off a little bit this year. But I thought for how they were sitting at 6-5, I thought they played really good football. Um, and obviously they fell short and wasn't what you were hoping for, but I thought they had a pretty good season. And now moving forward, that division, I mean, it's just getting tougher with the Browns coming out this year, and the Bengals are only going to get better with Burrow. I mean, the Steelers, a lot of questions up in the air on them. They're probably going to regress a little bit, but no, I think the Ravens had a good year. What I'm hearing, Lamar might get a big extension, 35 mil a year. What do you think? It's good move, bad move?
They're talking. I mean, he's early, so they got plenty of time to talk.
Yeah.
Right now, it's everything I've seen so far. They've basically both said there's no reason to think that we're not going to get it done. That's pretty much about it. I mean, I assume the same. It's tough. I mean, as like a personal fan, I'd want to take it to the edge. Kind
Yeah.
of Dak Prescott it. Not that he necessarily lost in his deal. Just given how bad the Cowboys played and how much more buying power he got.
Yeah, true.
But my big opinion on the whole NFL with the way contracts are going is it is incredibly hard to have a top 3 quarterback payroll wise and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you do just a phenomenal draft and you hit guys, kids even coming
Hmm.
in your first 2-3 years. I mean, let's look at Kansas City. Like they can't afford anybody.
No.
But I mean, they're hitting on the draft picks. So now all of a sudden you got these draft kids that are making less than $1 million or $1 million or less than $2 million coming in playing at top level guys. Like, but
Yeah.
what happens if you miss in your next 3 draft picks?
Yeah, well then plus they're getting some veterans that'll ring chase and come down there and play for,
Right.
League minimum. And that's another way to do it. But yeah, I agree with you on that. It's very hard, especially moving forward. The salary cap is expected to either stay the same or drop next year because of all the money lost with no fans in the stands. So
Even bringing it back to like your team, like the Packers did struggle when they were paying Rodgers top notch of bringing people in.
yeah,
Again, they hit on some like those linemen. They hit on great draft picks.
they've done a really good job drafting linemen. That's about all I can say. They've drafted well.
They
But
spent the second and a third, or two second and a third for 2 running backs that ended up turning out
yeah,
dynamic,
that's true.
including a Williams who could play the slot for you when you didn't have one.
Yeah, they hit on Jair too. He's a darn good corner. So they have done a good job drafting lately.
So hopefully, my hope is he takes a very, I'm going to say a very modest top 5 salary, and we don't have to pay the piper for
That's a good.
a big 10-year deal, Jared Goff style or style.
Yeah. Yeah. And you just never know with those guys that run the ball like that. Look at RG3. I mean, that guy was the league for 2 years and then he gets hurt and has to just throw the football and his career is basically over. I mean,
I think confidence plays a big role in that. Like,
yeah.
I mean, even his senior year or his last year of college, he was the most accurate quarterback in college football over Andrew Luck, who was he good? No scrub.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I hope for your sake he can keep it up and they'll keep getting it done. Some coaching news. I talked about them before on the other episodes about the Eagles and Texans. Boy, was I wrong on these ones. The Eagles hired Nick Sirianni, who is the Colts offensive coordinator, I guess. I'd never heard of him. And then the Texans just came out and hired David Culley, a guy that maybe he's a Raven.
Yeah.
He's been an assistant in the NFL since '94, and he's never even had a coordinator job. This is a total Texans move. Do you even know anything about this guy?
I mean, not a ton. I mean, I think they essentially saw a guy in a successful organization and ran with it. I guess. I don't know. I don't know how the interviews went.
And thought hopefully he could stick uh, Watson around, which isn't going to
Yeah.
happen. But
No.
surprised to see both those hires. Surprised to see Bieniemy get passed by yet again, and the Bills offensive coordinator not get a job. So interesting. We'll see how those play out. But the big one here in Michigan, Dan Campbell gets hired for the Detroit Lions. I got to read this quote from Campbell in his interview, which by the way was like 2 hours long. I mean, like the longest opening press conference ever, right? So this is what Campbell said. So this team is going to be built on, we're going to kick you in the teeth, right? And then when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off. That is what Dan Campbell said in his interview, and it was hilarious. Here's my thoughts. It's going to go one of two ways in there. He is obviously brought in to be an energy guy, just like Urban Meyer's going to do, right? Try to build that culture. Campbell's going to be way more extreme. They're either going to buy in and love this guy and run through walls, or they're going to laugh at him like he's a joke. On his nameplate, it says his name, and then it says the dude, some big Lebowski reference. I know Nick, I saw Nick in there. I know he's going to love that, being a Lions fan. What in the heck, this guy, what do you think of him?
I mean, what is there really to think right now?
He's a character.
Yeah, big energy, played for the Lions.
Yeah.
So has that reference of kind of what, I mean, Detroit self associates themselves with, just being the tough city.
Yeah.
So maybe I think he's trying to buy into the city. But Lions fans are faithful for whatever reason, and I'll give it to him, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's been a long time. They've won one playoff game since 1960 or something. I mean,
they won the 57. Back when I was a tiny tot.
Yeah, right. When it wasn't a Super Bowl?
It was not yet. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see how much he learned from the Saints organization. Again, a very successful ran organization here in the last, let's say, 8 years.
And he was one of the head assistant coaches. I mean, he had a little interim gig there in Miami a while back and did well, won some games. So it'll be interesting. He's definitely going to be a hard-nosed guy. But like I said, I think it's either they're going to buy in and love this guy, or they're going to laugh at him, and he won't be there very long. They did give him a 6-year deal, though, to start, which I thought was interesting. But
yeah, I think with coaching, you kind of have to. I mean, that's just committing to buy-in.
Yeah.
Buy-in, saying like, all right, let's say you have a first bad year. Well, I mean, we should be associating with the Lions should be associating with bad years right now.
Well, and they're going to be bad for a few years because they've already agreed to part ways with Stafford. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but they're going to be bad for a few years. You would think, right?
1 year too late. But yeah. I mean, that's kind of what you have to do to rebuild.
Yeah.
Especially with an organization that doesn't have the demeanor. I mean, you're bringing in all new guys right now that have to learn how each other think, act, play, who you want, what kind of characteristics you want in a player. And we're talking a few months from the draft with no combine.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a
lot of work to
a lot of work to do.
A lot of work to do, and obviously it wasn't a good year for him this year, and it probably won't be. Hopefully they just give him a shot though, and if they like him, they don't just can him after 2-3 years if he's they're not winning games, because that just seems to be the move in the NFL, and I don't think they give these guys enough time. But one guy I listened to and I am all in on, and I said before, I think this was the best opening gig, and that's Brandon Staley, who just got the Chargers job. I listened to an interview of this guy, and I'm sold. I think he's going to do great. He's a younger coach. I think they're going to be good. I will not be shocked if they win 10 games next year. I don't know their schedule. I'm pulling that out of a hat, but I think their roster is good with a young QB, and I really like this coach.
Well, you're 1 and 2 make the difference, QB wise.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, any rookie quarterback, that's worth something, can come out in the NFL and make a splash. Just because I mean, let's say you're pulling out tapes of any rookie quarterback. Well, now with Herbert, you're going back to Oregon. Like, all right, what did they do versus Utah on that Thursday night game? Like, what was his tendencies?
yeah.
Now you have a whole year of figuring out what his tendencies to do on 3rd and long are
True.
in an NFL setting. So
True. He did look good this year, though.
yeah, it looks fantastic.
For sure. For sure. They've got the pieces on both sides of the football. They just had a bad game manager as a coach last year. And I really like this guy. A guy that used to play for the Chargers, Phil Rivers, just called it quits after 1 year with the Colts, played 17 seasons in the league. He's like top 5 in passing yards, top 10 in touchdowns. Big debate out there. Philip Rivers, Hall of Famer to you or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's easy.
You think it's easy?
Yeah, this league's very catered towards quarterbacks. Any quarterback's gonna get the kind of the nod over maybe somebody else that has a different position.
Well, and the NFL's kind of easy to get in the Hall of Fame, don't you think?
Yeah, and my man's top 10 in a lot of statistical categories, even though probably a couple that he doesn't want to be in. But
yeah, he also never missed a game as a starting quarterback. So
yeah,
definitely an Iron Man.
And in my opinion, he's pretty underrated too. I mean, he played with some talent, but he played with a lot of. I know you just talked about the Chargers having a lot of talent and the ability to go win games with youth, but their organization's a little bit funky.
Yeah,
that's how I'll put it.
Yeah,
I think there's something to be said about having a good, solid, strong organization behind you, and to go do what he did with an organization that doesn't historically like to pay their players. They don't like to go out and get the big splash. I mean, forever you were in San Diego, the nice sunny San Diego, and you can't get a free agent.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
It's something. And then they go out and draft great, and they develop the guy, and then they let him go somewhere else to go win. Like, it's just for him to stay as long as he did. They committed to him, and him to have the career he did. I mean, I'm in. He's a Hall of Famer.
He's gonna get in. I'm not saying that. To me, I heard an ESPN guy say, for him, it really just depends on what you think gets you into the Hall of Fame. And there's no rhyme or reason or stats. Like with baseball, baseball is the hardest Hall of Fame to get into. And they just came out 2 days ago or whatever and said nobody made it into the Hall of Fame this year for baseball. I mean, you've got to have over 75% of the votes, and it's all this writers, and it's a whole thing to get into the MLB Hall of Fame. But it seems like in the NFL, it's easier. And there's no, for baseball, you get to 300 wins, you get to 3,000 Ks. There's like numbers, you know what I mean? Like milestone numbers, you hit them, you're getting in the Hall. But for football, it doesn't feel like they have that. And obviously the game is so much different. Like you had mentioned, it's so much different than what it was. So, they're going to have guys, I think, that don't get in the NFL that have better stats than guys that do get in. But the guy from ESPN said, to me, a Hall of Famer is being a top 5 player at your position for an 8 to 10 year span. And I thought that was a really good representation. And when I thought about that, I thought, I don't know if Phil fits that. No, he's going to get in. To be, devil's advocate here, I don't know that he's the top 5 quarterback for any long period of span in his career.
I would say I would say arguably maybe 5 years.
You think so?
You're really chopping out 5 years of his career, yeah.
With Brady and Manning and Breeze.
I mean, Breeze wasn't. I mean, Breeze was good, but he wasn't the Breeze we're knowing now, as opposed to right when he got to the Saints.
Yeah, and it also, and I am the biggest advocate for wins are not a quarterback stat, team wins. But Philip Rivers has gotten he's been to a conference finals and that's it. And I think one. But he doesn't have a ton of playoff wins, and that's not his fault. But what do you think? Obviously, draft class was Eli, Phillip Rivers, and Big Ben. Eli 2 Super Bowls, Ben 2 Super Bowls, Ben to 3. Ben's got a Super Bowl MVP, I believe. Eli's got 2. Um, Rivers has got better stats than both of them, and they're saying those 2 guys are for sure Hall of Famers because they've won 2 Super Bowls.
Right.
I mean, you would agree that all 3 of those guys are getting in?
Yeah. Again, it's an easy sport to do it.
Yeah. Should
Uh,
they though? Should Eli?
no, and I guess if you're going to take it from like in the baseball sense, if you want to split the difference, he probably misses it.
I think so. To me, I don't think of Eli Manning as a Hall of Fame quarterback. He played in big moments and made big plays. I will agree to that, but I don't know about that.
Yeah,
It's interesting. I mean, it's
that
everybody's.
comes back to your talent over kind of the team and such. Like
Yeah,
I think like if you name those 3 quarterbacks, the best talent was Phillip Rivers. Big
yeah,
Ben went to the best organization. The
true,
organization ready to win as soon as he got there.
and they did.
Neither of those other 2 were. I mean, obviously they were drafted 1 and 2. Like
Yeah,
you're drafting that early in the draft, you ain't ready to win at any point.
yeah, true.
And then the organization, the strong organization around it, just kept feeding into the Steelers win. Like you go get
Oh yeah. Well,
an Antonio Brown talent in the 6th round. Like you don't see
yeah.
the Chargers doing that. You don't see the Giants doing that. They
No, and that's a great point by you. I mean, that's just organization. I mean, the Steelers have always been good.
mm,
Now the Giants have. I mean, Giants have some rich history too, but um,
they're choppy.
yeah, yeah,
They're good for 5, and then they take the next
absolutely,
5 off, and then the next 5 they're like okay, and then the next 10 they're decent, and
yeah,
then they're great for 5, and
yeah, absolutely,
they 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 take rest periods.
yeah. It'll be interesting. Like we said, we both are in agreement that Philip will get in. I was just playing a little something to think about if he is a top quarterback throughout his career. But you and I could talk NFL all day. I know that for sure. But let's swing things a little bit over to college sports. You're a big Michigan guy.
So some days, unfortunately.
Real quick, out of the college sports world, Pat Fitzgerald was kind of rumored to get maybe some NFL gigs. Northwestern said no way in heck there. They just gave him a new 10-year deal, locking him up to 2030. Good for him. Good coach in a program that maybe wasn't very good, and he's got made a good history there. I mean, they're not ever. I think this year was probably the best they've been in a long. I mean, they were a top 10 team. Um, you know, they were ranked top 10. I don't want to say they were a top 10 team, but um, I mean, they
Yeah.
made a Big Ten title game. But good for him, man. I think that's a good. It looks like he'll be there his whole career probably with that deal.
Mm, mm,
Oh, you think not?
I mean, I don't think he's going to go to another college team. He was not only like getting NFL looks. It was said in the media he was open to looking at them.
Okay.
Um,
So he would take the opportunity, you think? But only would you think only a head coach?
Probably. I don't really see why he would, and it's not like he's got a bad thing going on in Northwestern.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to be there forever.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
We'll see. I don't know. I don't know.
like I said, I don't think he's going to take another college job.
Okay. That's fair.
College, I think he's satisfied there, but I think there's
If
going to
he
be the one day we're going to get to the next level kind of deal for him.
Yeah. Well, he's overachieved. There's no doubt about that. He's overachieved. You're obviously a big Michigan fan, like I said. Michigan coming off a 2-4. What
2 and too many.
2-2 many, he says.
Too many.
Obviously, it was a tough season for everybody with this COVID deal. Michigan preseason ranked pretty high. They go out and beat Minnesota, get a nice jump in the rankings, and then it kind of fell off the wagon from there. What did you think? Obviously, I know what you think of the season. It wasn't good, but what was the problem then?
Time.
Yeah.
Time was the problem. I know we've talked, and you've touched on it in a couple of prior weeks with Michigan State having a new system, new everything. You could honestly argue the same thing about like that particular Michigan team. I mean, you have mock drafts flying off the boards before the season when the season was canceled, and you have probably 6 Michigan players that are in the top 3 rounds projected at that time. I mean, you're talking about, but all those guys missed time, whether it
Yeah.
be opt out, whether it be 2 of them got hurt in the state game, which is week 2. Um, Another one was hurt for 2 weeks and then played, and then hurt and then played. Um, and you're replacing those top level talent because when you're in college, you have top 3 round picks. Those kids are playing, and you're replacing these with kids that don't have experience playing. So the thing I take from the season, obviously, I wasn't happy with the record, but I mean this is a free year, the free year of nonsense,
Yeah, absolutely.
and you just got your youthful players a whole year of reps basically.
Yeah.
So
I think for most, I mean, obviously the schools that did well and won a lot of games are going to take it well. But I think the majority of schools are doing exactly that, taking it as a learning tool and throwing it out the season, really the records and everything, because it was just such an odd year. You only played a handful of games. You know what I mean? What about the quarterback position? What did you think of that?
it was bad. Bad. I mean, bad all around.
Who's the guy though? Who's
I wouldn't open with a single guy.
no?
I mean, you got a big talent coming in McCarthy,
Yep.
who
High recruit coming in.
won Illinois twice, and then went to IMG and never threw an interception there against top notch teams. I just opened it straight up.
Okay.
I wasn't a fan of how I guess the rate that they were all developed. It didn't seem like we made a lot of strides with a lot of quarterbacks. I don't think I'm wrong in saying that Michigan as an organization thought the same thing, since Jim Harbaugh now is the quarterback coach
Yeah,
himself.
it seems like that's been an ongoing thing, though. I mean, I can't really. It seems like, and now obviously I'm an in-state guy here in Michigan, but it seems like every year it's like, oh, Michigan's got this QB this year, like he's going to step in, and it doesn't seem like your quarterbacks really perform that well. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you get a nationally known program, and then you're in state, so you get most of the Michigan fans are who I'm not fans of. I mean, they'll hype up an orange and say it tastes like a peach, and you'll think it tastes like a peach, and all of a sudden you're still like, no, it's still an orange. They will do that every single year, no matter what,
That's good.
high profile team. Your
That's
Notre Dame, your Texas says they'll do it all to all of them.
that's fair. That's fair.
But at the end of the day, like then you see reports like, let's take Shea Patterson, who I'm a big Shea Patterson guy, even though the national news hated him, and and I completely understand his flaws, and I completely stand by the fact that like he had flaws. And when you have that talent and you go through the level of high school that you went through, including at your IMGs where you were dominant, it seemed like and then he got to the SEC and was dominant.
Yeah,
He lost an edge and he didn't work. And then you're hearing reports where you get a new offensive coordinator with new styles for said player, and then he's out golfing all summer. Like those are the things where you're like, huh. So whose fault is it?
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I obviously every year, being a state fan, you guys out recruit us. I mean, every single year, Michigan gets the top guys. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you look at the NFL draft, you look at the guys playing on Sunday. Like, there's a lot of Michigan cats out there.
They do recruit very well,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's going to get better. I mean, they basically made all these hires of youth and recruiting and energy.
yeah. So I know we had talked before about Don Brown needing to go. I mean, that was kind of what you were feeling too, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think the split in the media, like how some people were so strong on each side. I think the split's very fair.
Yeah.
Like I love Don Brown. I was at a coaching clinic where he was speaking at, and I mean the end of the room is radiated with energy. I completely understand why people played hard for him. But at the same time, as Michigan fans seeing the same thing for the last 4 years,
Yeah.
it was stale. Like the concepts were stale. Like if you're gonna blitz every third down, like somebody's gonna figure it out. Like it's just not.
Yeah, just one of those where, you know what, he's a good coach, but it was just time to move on,
Yeah,
kind of.
just one.
Yeah.
And he got a job within like a week, and
Yeah.
another Michigan guy that left, Jed Fisher,
Yeah. They
and he's gonna do great in the Pac-12. Like his defense is set for the Pac-12.
Yeah. So your new DC is a Raven guy, which for you kind of matches up. A young guy coming in there.
Yeah.
You think he'll do a good job?
Yeah, full of energy. He was the came from the linebackers coach at Georgia before the NFL, who obviously Georgia sending kids left and right to the league.
Oh yeah. Just
Develop.
just made the national title a few years ago. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the fact that they added Big Mo, who was the secondary coach at A&M before he left for the Cowboys as well.
Oh, then
Combined.
Your guy Mike Hart's coming back.
Oh, couldn't have been happier. Too happy.
Oh,
Very much so. That room is the most talented room that guy's going to step in as a coach in his entire life, and it's going to be mad.
I'm sure you're pumped about that. What about old Jimmy? You know, I don't mind talking Michigan football with you because you're a realist, and you know, the way you always explain it is nice. Is you know, kind of like the Michigan higher ups and the fans are unrealistic about what they expect from the team. You know,
fans entitled.
Yeah.
Very entitled.
Yeah. What do you think about that? You know, explain that.
I'm a Jim Harbaugh guy still, and I've again seen podcasts and I've seen the national media, and I see all the Christmas morning looks every State fan and every Ohio State fan has on their face. And historically, I guess why not?
Yeah.
But if you're gonna keep hiring, if you're only gonna hire off past, and you don't think there's anything good out of the Michigan program, like, then you get rid of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't work before. Like so I'm gonna say, like, all right, you're gonna pay that, you're gonna not sign them, and you're gonna hire a new guy. Like, okay, who's gonna be better right now?
Right. Like I had mentioned in my previous one, it's like the guy's winning 10 games a year. Like, I mean, what's wrong with that?
Statistically, I don't know the exact statistics. I've looked it up a million times to try to memorize them, but you know, I'm getting old. Like Dabo started with a pretty similar, if not worse, record than Jim Harbaugh, starting in a program that was as bad as Michigan was when he took over. Characteristics I absolutely love, which I think you can't overlook, which the media will definitely overlook. I call it the Michigan pinata. Every single off season, they'll build them up, they'll make them all pretty, they'll fill them with candy, and then the season starts, and who can knock out the candy first?
That's
beaten
good.
Bad.
That's good. Yeah, it seems like, though, you know, like Michigan fans expect them to win the national title every year, and if that doesn't happen, then you know, then he's a bad coach. Is that because of the media, or is that just because of your guys' history?
Both.
Yeah.
I think the history of, again, you're nationally known. The media's prone to talk about you, good, bad, or indifferent. Like I said, build you up, make you pretty, beat you down. I mean, they're going to talk about you regardless. So then you get bad games, you get angry, and obviously I'm from the Lansing area as well. I see the states, like, you guys get all excited. You have a bad game, like you kind of just go home, and then you see how Michigan did on TV. Like there's nothing to remind you of how mad you are at that moment until you get to Monday through Thursday, and that's all the media talks about is how bad Michigan was, and it just reminds you every single minute of that game that you watched that was awful.
That's fair.
And so it just fuels the fire. So then you get a big fan base like them, and nationally, and then all of a sudden, you know, with the new additions to all the social media platforms we have nowadays, you'd think the whole state of Michigan's on fire.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, he got a nice extension there. He's going to hang out, and
took a team. That's one of my favorite things. I was going to touch on that earlier. One of my favorite things is he's betting on himself.
Yeah.
So
because he took less money, right?
He literally almost more than half.
Wow.
I mean, I think his base right now is $4 million, and I think his buyout last year alone was $9 million.
Well, I mean, he's a Michigan guy. He played there. He's not going to want to leave. I mean,
right.
for him, what else? I mean, where else would he want to go? He's already been to the NFL and did his thing there. Like, I would imagine that him coaching football, this is his dream job. And so
There was no reason he couldn't have gone back to the NFL and just
no,
vindicated himself. Let's
absolutely.
say, I mean, I read reports like, hey, maybe his market was terrible because he's had a couple bad years.
Yeah.
Well, you say that, but look how many suitors were lined up at the door.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if they were to let him go, he'd have been a top candidate everywhere. I mean, there's no doubt about
Yeah,
it. There's no
but
doubt about it. So,
the competitiveness is what is I
yeah.
love it. He's like you think if you're an average Michigan fan and you're mad about the season, like be him.
Yeah. Imagine
And
what
then you go to Thanksgiving, you sit down with your nice hat. Then you sit down, you look over to your brother next to you, and he's got AFC conference rings and championship shirts and
yeah, you're a hardball family guy, man. I mean,
oh,
you might want to move in here soon.
I was almost a Hoosier basketball fan with Tom Crean.
Yeah, he's what, stepbrother or something?
Oh, he's married. He's married to his
Brother-in-law?
sister.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
That's funny.
Me and Tom Crean, Georgia basketball. I'm with you.
That's funny. So, well, speaking of hoops, Michigan hoops, they're off to a heck of a start. Obviously, they just got shut down for a couple of weeks due to COVID, but ranked top 10, undefeated for a while there. What did they start? 10-0, 11-0?
I could rant on this forever.
They're off to a great start. Howard is obviously doing an excellent job in there. I think they're up to rank number 7, I think, and or are they higher?
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, they could be higher. I don't
5 or 7. I don't really look at them in the regular season. It's not.
No, it's not. But I think they were getting shorted there. I mean, they were undefeated for a while and they were still just ranked in the teens. It was kind of confusing. I mean, I know they hadn't beaten a ton of big teams, but every win in the Big Ten is a good win, especially this year.
This year's brutal.
Oh, I think it's the best I've ever seen the Big Ten. But what do you think of the hoops team? Obviously, they're playing good ball. They got what it takes this year.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, again, what you're gonna end up seeing, in my opinion, is you're gonna see a little bit more inconsistencies with Hunter Dickerson because he's a freshman.
Well, and I think right now he can only go down, right? I mean, he's playing so well.
I don't think that's the case, but I think
you don't think so.
I think you're gonna have down games and people. We just talked about the football. Let's say the fans they're gonna be like, oh, this guy sucks now. Like,
yeah,
no, like the kid's learning.
Yeah, very young.
They're talking about reports like where they're teaching the kid little things that they teach NFL or NBA guys at this point in his career. I mean, they had the lockout, and he's a DC kid. Him and Luca Garza, and I believe there was one other post guy rented out a gym for the lockout, and that's all they did was one-on-one and footwork and practice with each other.
Wow.
Before the kid got to Michigan. I mean, I was thinking the kid was probably going to be a great role player coming in preseason. I mean, obviously you look at everybody's highlights; all their highlights look great. We talked prior to this. DeMantha is a big powerhouse. They're an Oak Park type of school.
Yeah,
he's the winningest player in DeMantha history, which I recently learned, which was fantastic.
Yeah, they put out a lot of good kids to end up going into the league. So
a lot. So I think the drive and the fact that you have a guy like Juwan Howard who has coached so long in the NBA and played in the NBA for so long and learned the nuances, the little things.
He's a player's coach too, right?
Oh, he's a big guy specialist. So the fact that Hunter Dickinson can think he's the man and he knows it all kind of deal.
Yeah.
Which every young person in history has had that attitude.
Yeah.
At one time.
And it doesn't look like Howard's going to give him less confidence. I mean, he's a pretty confident cat. Howard is, and but so. I mean, he's just one piece. What are they got Livers, right? Is he
Livers is underrated nationally.
He's the leader though, I would think, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Most definitely. They go when he goes.
Yeah. Who's a couple other cats they got?
Franz Wagner.
Oh yeah. That's Mo's brother.
Yeah, he's an NFL. He's an NBA. I keep saying NFL, but he's an NBA. He's an NBA kid this year.
Yeah.
He's gonna be gone. I mean, his defense. Before, like, he came in as like the sharpshooter that Mo was, just in a guard's body kind of deal.
Yeah.
Defensively, I think he's averaging like 3 blocks in the last like five games combined. Like,
Wow.
per game. I mean, the kid's a nightmare as far as just getting scored on.
Yeah.
Eli Brooks is another senior.
Yep, I know that name. He's a good player.
Again, just a 3-and-D kind of guy, except as a guard.
Yeah. I will say over the last, I don't know, 5 to 8 years, Michigan is putting out some cats in the league, man. I mean, some really good players. When you look at, I think it kind of started with Burke and then Hardaway Jr. and now you see Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson.
Mitch McGarry.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
he wasn't a league kid, but it started the roll, the momentum.
Yeah, and they're turning into players, man.
He was a high recruit. He was a big recruit. He was a 5-star.
Real players. Yeah, I think they got a good team this year. But that Big Ten is so stinking tough, man. I can't wait to see them match up with Iowa and see what happens there. I think that'll be a really good game.
They're gonna lose a couple.
Yeah,
which
you want, right? I mean, I wouldn't want my team to go in.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue about them winning them all, but
no, but you don't want to go into the
realistically, if you go through that gauntlet and you don't have a single war wound,
yeah,
you might as well just cancel the tournament, don't get COVID, the whole shebang. Like it's in the bag, or
yeah, it'll
be accepting and learn of the couple notches that you have. Even like the loss to Minnesota. I mean, that Minnesota team came out possessed.
Oh yeah,
and then you're down in Eli Brooks, who if you have a guard defensive stopper, I mean, that's your kid.
Yeah,
the kid doesn't play, and Marcus Carr goes on a tear with assists.
Oh, that kid's talented too, Carr.
All of a sudden, if you were a 2K Raider, he's got a 60 pass, and he gets that game, he's a 90. Like kid was throwing dimes everywhere.
Well, I just hope that they get through this season. Obviously, Michigan just shut down for a couple weeks, and there's been so many teams that have shut down throughout this year, and with them canceling the tournament last year. Man, I just really hope that they can get through this season. But they do look strong. I will admit they look like a really good team. Real quick, I want to touch on something I know you like a lot, and that's UFC. Obviously, this past weekend, the big fight, McGregor and Poirier. McGregor knocked him out the first meeting, which was like 6-7 years ago. And this time Conor got knocked out in the second round. Made me a little money. I'm not complaining about it. But I wasn't shocked. I mean, really, I did bet for Poirier to win, and I wasn't shocked because Conor hadn't fought in a long time. And, he even alluded to it in his press conference afterwards. He's like, listen, it's inactivity. It's time. Like you can't, which I thought was crazy that he was stepping right into a big fight like that. It's like, whew.
Oh, you almost have to.
Yeah.
That's the UFC. The UFC is all about the glamour and the glitz, and he is a glamour glitz kind of guy.
Yeah. Oh, made a ton of money, right? I mean,
for sure.
Ton. And he didn't fight bad from what I saw. He got his shots in there. I mean, he wasn't McGregor, obviously, but he wasn't like terrible.
No. I mean, he was just as aggressive as he's always been.
Yeah.
Things that I got, and I have a couple other friends around the area that talk UFC that we really got into a big to do earlier this week, just kind of in stylistic, and they brought up a pretty good point, which I like to name. When you take that long off, like the game changes. So like just like anything, like in football now, it's a passing league when it never did. Like UFC is developing too.
Yeah, true.
When he's got a super wide stance, like ball in the last 2 years, 3 years, like leg kicks have been a new staple of the UFC.
Yeah, and he got tore up.
You're getting your knee pounded in. You can't switch, and you can't. If you shift, you're off balance. And I mean, that kid's quick. The other kid's quick as lightning too. I mean, they're both top-notch fighters. If he sees you're switching weight every single time, he's gonna knock you out earlier than he did.
Yeah.
So things like that, but you're not gonna notice that being a problem unless you're actually fighting, and you're like, all right, I'm like my calf is actually pretty sick of getting beat or something. But in 2 years, if you fought once before it was a really getting more popular.
Yeah,
it was fine. Nobody was beating your knee in. You're fine.
That's a good point. Yeah, it was interesting. He says he wants to come back and fight. He's going to fight some more, and I expect these guys to fight again in the future. But yeah, it was interesting. I expect him to come back strong. But that is all our sports talk. I do want to get to kind of the main reason I wanted to get you on here, and my whole thing has been talking about talking with people about something they're passionate about, and something you're passionate about right at the moment. Well, you've always been passionate about weightlifting and things like that, but something
Very much.
you're kind of adventuring into is your own little personal training business, and that is why our episode is called AM Gainz. That is the name of your little company there that you're getting rolling, little business. I'm repping some gear for you as well.
Oh, look at that. Looks good.
We're rocking the same. You got a hoodie, I got a shirt. I got a rep for you, buddy. But why don't you just explain what it is and what you're providing for people?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory as far as, I mean, it's going to be personal training. Right now I'm in Southwest Michigan in the Kalamazoo area. Training at a couple of gyms. Just between a full-time job and then I coach football, obviously. So we mixing around, and honestly, it's for me it's exciting. I mean, I've obviously been lifting and loved the fitness world for so long, but and then obviously throughout the years you kind of gain knowledge, and then I decided to go out and get certified in it and
Yeah, how was
make
that? How was that? Easy or something you had to really?
oh, brutal.
Yeah,
I think that was probably harder to test as my college degrees.
really. You had to put
Yeah, it was tough.
put some good effort into it. Well, that's good.
Yeah, they put you through the ringer, so
That's good to
uh,
hear, though. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, for sure.
so it definitely makes it to know that you know your stuff. So you say you're doing out of a couple different gyms, not just one.
Yeah, right now I'm doing one. Well, one right now. I got talks to a couple other people.
Cool.
I've done a couple online ones, so I got a couple online clients that aren't quite ready to hit the gym yet.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that real quick. I mean, with the COVID deal, obviously, that obviously with you just kind of getting this rolling can hinder you a lot with people not using the
Yeah,
gyms. But it also, on the flip side, could help you a lot as people are using these Zooms and things like that more often. Shout out to Zoom. We are on Zoom again this week. But what has it helped you a little bit? You said you got a couple on lines.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna say for me, it's a little bit obviously different. It feels a little bit less personable because you can't necessarily go up and show them and see every reaction that they make or how
Yeah.
they're. I mean, if they're shaking and the camera's slightly off, I can't necessarily see exactly every little detail that I'd like to as far as personal training. But things like improved communication verbally has increased for me.
Yeah.
Even with my in-person clients right now, just being able to explain things better just because I have to on a daily basis online. Um, I feel like I'm a metaphor king. That has only gotten better.
Yeah, I'll say you've always been good at that. So
So just verbally. So again, seeing people, the thing with like a fitness industry in general, I mean, you got crazies and everybody has their own opinion. One of my favorite things that's so volatile, like everybody has their own opinion, and it's not like a this is how you do it kind of deal. Like there's so many
yeah,
different ways to do things
right, absolutely.
that you can
So
kind of come into an industry like this and put your own flair
yeah,
and fun into it. And I mean, if it works for somebody, then fantastic. I mean, I've just changed a life,
yeah,
whether they like it or not.
absolutely. And it's not so from my understanding, you're doing kind of catering to what the person's looking for too, right? I mean, if they're looking to say they're looking to put on 10, 15 pounds of muscle, or say they're trying to just get a little more tone and stuff like that. I mean, you're accommodating to all those things.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're trying to put 10 pounds of muscle on you, I would have saw you yesterday. Yeah, for sure though. I mean I'm a more like stylistically I'm more powerlifting than as opposed to like a CrossFit or like an Olympic lifts.
Yeah,
Uh I prefer powerlifting just because a lot of it's pretty functional in like everyday life.
yeah.
By the time you get to some of those CrossFit ones and Olympic ones, they're a little bit more technical, and you don't necessarily see the results that you see right away. And sometimes you just don't need to do a pull up and then get into a dip and a push up and then flip and then land. So, not that doesn't take some talent, but
Well, what do you, what do you think the future of this is for? I don't want to say it's a hobby for you because you're making, I mean, you're making money and, you're very passionate about it. So I don't want to call it a hobby, but, you talked about how busy you are with your full-time gig and coaching some football. Is this something that maybe you just stay out and do small, or is it something that maybe down the road you think like, "Oh, I could open my own gym and this could be my gig?"
I mean, ideally, it's tough. So I've actually battled back and forth. I mean, ideally, like I'd like to venture off on my own at some degree, whether it be this, whether it be opening a gym. I think you probably have to eventually. I don't know if you can necessarily get to 60, 65 and be like, all right, we're gonna teach you the same squat still. Like, I
Yeah.
think eventually you gotta try to aim bigger.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of with where we're at in the world right now, and then obviously this schedule and time, and it's
Mhm.
kind of taking the Carrie Underwood approach for the moment and just letting Jesus take the wheel. Um, but at the same moment, you kind of got to be aggressive too,
Yeah.
as far as trying to reach out and see what you can get and keep grinding.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure. For sure. Well, I think you're just getting started too. So, you know, you just never know. You never know where it's going to take you. And, uh, it's cool. It's cool that you're doing that. For me, and I think a lot of people are like this. You quit competing and you got that drive, that competitive drive. Is lifting for you? Is that something that maybe replaces that competitive drive a little bit? Getting, 'cause I know you love to get your lifts at least one a day. A lot of times you're doing more than that. Is that something that maybe replaces that drive for you?
oh yeah, I mean, if you're lifting at my gym, you've got side eyed before. Like if you're gonna be pressing 60s, like you better move over or give me the higher one. Like something's happening. You might not know it, but I'm gonna win. Even though we're competing, but it's happening.
Uh,
Um, just I would say that as far as like even like a stress relief. Sometimes life gets hectic and you're running around. Like for for me, I'll lose it. We'll say
yeah.
we'll cage the competitive animal. That's what it does. It puts puts it puts it back in its place and until I get there the next day, kind of deal. Or as you allude to, sometimes later that day.
Yeah, yeah, I know you all sorts of different times and hours of the day you're getting it in. So, well, hey man, I appreciate the heck out of you. Anything else you wanna say about it?
No, like I said, I know you got people from all over the state. If they're interested in online or if you're from the Southwest area, obviously hit me up. I'm adding some of it with owning your own business. You can kind of be picky and choosy in times and people and stuff. So if you're really wanting it, as far as gains and personal growth and something to get the stress off from the really cool year we had leading up to this, I can
Yeah.
definitely help you out.
Yeah, and I think you fired up an Instagram as well, correct?
Oh yeah, that is as rough as it gets for now. We're learning the old social media.
Well, I tell you, AM Gainz, and that's Gainz with a Z. If you want to give that a follow on Instagram, he's getting started with that. I'll probably throw your contact info on the post if you don't mind that.
No,
Um,
you can go for it.
all right, cool, man. Well, hey, I appreciate the heck out of you, brother, and thank you so much for your time. And I hope you had a blast. I know I
Oh
did.
yeah, I'm sure I'll be back.
All right. Yeah, absolutely, man. So this is
Thank you.
episode 4, AM Gains with my man Andrew Myszak. Please go out and follow us on Napchatter, all the socials. We are doing an awesome job so far of getting our views, and you guys have been incredible watching, and I can't thank you enough. That is episode 4.